Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are officially starting here. It is Friday, Valentine's Day. We're glad that you can be here with us where you can be somewhere else, but you chose to join us on this live webinar. So again, we are going to be educating you, helping you as a product lover of our products to really get to know Omega 3 Plus better. It is for your heart health. So just so that you all know, we are having this recorded as well. And then we will be happy to go over exactly what's going to happen throughout this webinar. If you're following me on Facebook, it's also being posted right now live on Facebook. So again, welcome to all those who are watching. So we're going to get started. My name is Martha Whitfield, the Life Farm here. I'm the Senior Sales and Customer Support Manager, and my role is to support all of you in North America, which includes US and Canada, and our territories, as well as Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Oceania market, which includes Australia, Australian and the New Zealand markets, okay? And what I have the pleasure of doing right now is just to kind of walk you through our agenda for this afternoon that we're spending this time together. We're going to welcome you, which we have, and we hope that you are really feeling excited about learning more about our products and why our products are so unique and the best out there in the market. And also the introduction to myself and to the one and only Kimberly Lloyd, who's really going to be taking on the Omega presentation and training. And then we want to let you know that we're going to open it up for live questions and answers after we do this very informative educational webinar for you. And then we're going to end it with a did you know. So please have your pen and paper on hand, have your questions ready. Go ahead and send them to us through this chat if you are participating on our webinar live as our attendees, because we are going to look at your questions and so that we can have Kimberly take the time to really answer them for you so that you are more empowered to be able to speak more confidently. We're not asking you to be a scientist. We're not asking you to be the product expert, but what we're asking you is to be very compliant. So without that said, I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit more about Kimberly Purdy Lloyd. She is our Executive Research and Development Scientist. We do believe in extensive and ongoing research here as an absolute necessity for here at Life Farm and for you as our product users and product sharers. Kimberly has a career path of formidable experience in dietary supplement and specialty skincare formulations. She joined the dietary supplement industry with specialties in wound care and cosmetic formulations, developing clinical and basic research protocols and peer publications and published results of them. She's educated and with the consumers and worked directly with stakeholders about the safety, efficacy, benefits, and function of various nutritional ingredients and specialty topical formulations. She has her degree in nursing, pre-med degree from University Texas at Arlington, and has her Master of Science in Biochemistry from University of North Texas. Her thesis was published in the Archives of Biochemistry and Biophysics. She's been awarded a Welsh Scholarship for Graduate Research Studies in Immunology and Enzymology, as well as by the American Chemical Society for Outstanding Research Achievements. And while that is a mouthful, and I know that you're not going to remember everything about her, all I want you to just really know is that we're in great hands with all her knowledge and what she's going to be sharing with you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have Kimberly on.
Well, good day, everyone. Thank you so much, Martha. We're all so happy to have Martha and her beautiful energy and arranging this important webinar on Valentine's Day, reminding us of heart health and love and peace. And so we're so happy, and I love working with Martha. She's been such a wonderful colleague to work with this last year. And so I'll start now to talk to you today a little bit about Omega. This is our Omega fatty acid product. It contains the 2 fatty acids that the American Heart Association, recommends for better heart health. And I'm going to give you a little background today that I thought was kind of interesting. The formula, this is not like a typical formula or a typical fish oil product that you might go to the grocery store or the health food store and purchase. This is a formula that contains a number of heart healthy ingredients, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those shortly. And so we do want to look quickly at heart health, and as you may know, although other things are, on the rise, 90% of women actually have one or more risks for heart disease. This, of course, includes stroke as well as a heart attack. And the problem is that so many women, we don't have any symptoms. We don't know if our doctor isn't checking our blood pressure. Even if you have high blood pressure, you might have other issues. And so it goes kind of undiagnosed. So the more proactive that we can be, and, with our nutritional supplements and good things that we can do for our health, the better off we'll be. And of course, men suffer from this too. Death at all ages, actually, we all see the news, or the athletes, or in our own families and such. We know that heart disease is certainly prominent in our societies. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background. Why did the scientists start to take an interest in fish oil? Some of the original studies, were done about 15 years ago. Well, the story goes is that the people in the lands of Greenland and Alaska and higher Canada, where it's very cold and they have frozen lakes, and the Inuit Indians live there, and Eskimos. And so this society ate a lot of fatty fish. That was their primary fish, or, part of their meal, and seaweed. And what happened is that when they would go to the village doctor and have their heart examined or something, listen to the heartbeat and such for a checkup, the doctors began to realize that this society were not getting as many heart attacks. These Eskimos and Indians were not having early onset heart attacks in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And then when they did pass away, they did some autopsies, and they could see that the arteries were not clogged. Very different from the typical Western diet people, And so these were physicians and scientists that began to, ask this question about, why do these Eskimos have such clear arteries and vessels? And they published their papers and scientific papers, and they started to make that correlation that, well, what do they eat? They eat this omega-rich fish. And that is the primary food diet that they eat, and seaweed, things like that. And so they put this issue together. Well, then studies, further on, the big Italian study that was done with about 5,000 people who'd already had a heart attack were given fish oil, and with a little vitamin E in it, and then the placebo group, or the group that did not receive that supplement, and then they compared the data, and lo and behold, they found out that those that were taking the fish oil fared much better. They did not have near as high a rate of a second heart attack, because once you have one heart attack, it kind of means you might be at high risk for a second heart attack. And so this is where all this came about. And that was a big famous study because it was a large study, and that made everybody pay attention. So in chemistry, what we say is like substances dissolve like substances. So oil does not mix with water, but oil and oil do mix. Now, what we're looking at here is a artery or blood vessel, and you see the yellow plaque, and that's what happens. It starts to build up on the inside of that blood vessel and becomes more and more narrow. Well, interestingly enough, this can be reversed. This can be reversed somewhat. And so when we take the fish oil, the oil is helping dissolve the hard fat. They're both fats. The fish oil is a fat, and the plaque has a lot of fat in it, cholesterol and other fatty deposits and calcium. And so that begins to kind of dissolve that artery and they get more clear. Now, the omega fats, because they are also important as for the nerves. Remember, our brain is made up of a lot of fatty material, actually, and the omega-3 fatty acids help that developing brain. And the nerves that run up and down the spinal cord are all wrapped in omega-3 fatty acids, and similar lipids that make those up. So that's why we're seeing such the scientists now are studying everything a lot more. And also for the eye, the big optic nerve that goes from the eyeball into the brain, it's all wrapped up in fatty acids. So these are new studies now are also showing in elderly people when they start to have memory problems, if they start on a good omega fish oil product, they can see some improvement because that's helping open up the blood vessels in the brain and again supporting the nerve cells. And so these two fatty acids have been shown now to support memory. There's even the FDA is allowing a little bit more claims now in the United States and Europe. So we are learning those new things. There's also studies about they call it amyloid plaque. It's a form of plaque where the little nerves get kind of mixed up and twisted in the brain. And also for its anti-inflammatory characteristics. And they're giving it to children or adults that might have attention deficit issues. So they're studying the fish oils. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of you keep up with some of this literature. So let's talk a little bit about what our resources are, or the source for our fatty acids. We are not using farm-raised fish. We are using a fish that is natural. It's in the Pacific Ocean in Colombia, South America. Mr. Cianto and Life Farm have partnered with this establishment, and they have all the certifications, and they're a very high quality company. And so these little sardine fish also happen to be very high and at a good ratio of these two main fatty acids. For short, we call them DHA and EPA because the words are so long. So this company that brings in the raw fish and everything with the fishermen, they are a member of what is known as the Friend of the Sea, an organization that helps monitor and replenish the fish. You can't do overfishing, so that the species and the waters are kept healthy, and selective harvesting. So, there's rules to follow that you can't overfish and such. Now, they also have all these qualifications for the factory where they bring the fish oil in and purify it. By the way, these little fish, this is still very clean water in South America. So these little fish don't have naturally a high level of toxins, dioxin, or heavy metals. And the fish oil can be distilled further, which brings it down, the heavy metals to, that's the distillation process. And this is an FDA approved facility. They have they are a member of GOED, which is the Global Organization for EPA and DHA omega-3s. This is an organization that studies and helps quantify and quality fish oil products as the source. This product is also halal certified, and it has the organization, the factory has its GMP and FDA approval for the factory. Another thing that we want to talk very briefly about is an organization, a company called Omega Quant. You see it up there on the screen. I talked to this man on the phone several years ago, and he was actually probably the most famous scientist in studying omega-3 fatty acids. So when all this research came about, he had developed an assay, a test, another test where you can actually just do a finger prick, get a little tiny bit of blood, put it on a card, mail it back to the company, and they can analyze that blood now and figure out how much omega-3 fatty acids are in your blood. The test cost about $49.95. So if you wanted to do this test, you could call this organization and get a kit yourself and have your own omega-3s evaluated. You want to do this after you've taken the omega-3 fatty acid product for 3 months. It's kind of sticks to the blood cells, the red blood cells, so the better measurement is to wait 3 months after taking the supplement and then have your blood analyzed. Now, the point we want to make here, and that this scientist has made, is that if you don't get enough of these omega-3 fatty acids, they're not going to be as helpful to your body. So in some of those experiments, though, that I told you about, the experiment in Italy, they were getting about 1,000 milligrams of a fish oil product. And so what they found, though, with some of the studies is that we want to get our blood levels up to about 0.8 in the green area. And if you don't get a little bit more, then you don't get quite as much effectivity. So we are going to tell you to take at least 2 of these a day for the right amount, the low end, and then on up to 5 a day. And at least that's a range where, it's beneficial to your health. This is a picture of the factory of the plant that makes the fish oil. Now, another ingredient that's in our omega-3 plus is vitamin K2. Maybe you've heard about vitamin K2 or not. It's not the same as K1. They are distinctively different vitamins, and they have a little bit of different function. Now, let me remind you that vitamin means vital amine. When the physicians and scientists started uncovering vitamins and terrible vitamin deficiency diseases, they called these vital amines, and thus the name vitamin. And that means it must come from the diet. Your body cannot make a vitamin. You must get it from an outside dietary source. Now, calcium is good for you. We want strong bones, and we are recommended to take a serving of calcium or drink our dairy products or cabbage or your favorite sources to get calcium into your diet. But at the same time, calcium naturally tends to bind to this plaque in the artery or the blood vessel. It's part of that matrix that makes that little clog. And vitamin K2 attaches to another molecule in the body, and its function is to pull calcium out. So when you take vitamin K2, your body makes another little molecule. It attaches, it turns that molecule on, it floats around in the blood, and it pulls calcium out of that fatty deposit in the arteries and blood vessels. And so they've done studies where they can hear the blood, rush through the vessels and such. And you can tell, the doctors and the clinicians can tell in clinical studies, that after a month or 2 of supplementation with a vitamin K2, those vessels get more flexible and that plaque is becoming, less obtrusive to the blood vessel. and they're beginning to study this a lot more now. So the problem with K2 in the Western diet, that's Canada, Europe, the United States, we call that a Western diet, the types of foods we tend to eat in our cultures, is different than the Asian cultures somewhat. I mean, you know, we crisscross now and eat everything. But this is why vitamin K2 is deficient, though. And it's actually called a general deficiency in Western diets. Now, you'll notice that in this graphic here, meat, cheese, you don't get a lot of vitamin K2 from maybe some of the typical foods you think of, even green leafy vegetables, milk products, salmon even, and such do not have vitamin K2. But lo and behold, what does have a good source of vitamin K2 is natto. And if I'm saying it right, natto is of soybeans that have been soaked, and then they retain some of their bacteria naturally, and they are fermented then for about 3 days, kind of a fermentation process. Well, this fermented soybean called natto is very high in K2. The little natural bacteria that ferments it helps make vitamin K2. So it's a very good source. We source ours from a good source in Japan, and that's what's in this product, is a nice serving of vitamin K2. And then we have added vitamin or CoQ10. Now, CoQ10, you can make some of it yourself. It is involved in the mitochondria of the cell. You may have heard about the mitochondria. That's called the energy supply center for the cells, the muscle cells, the heart cells, all the cells of the body, the liver, all the cells of the body have mitochondria. The mitochondria makes this one molecule called ATP that everything runs on. So it's very important to have CoQ10. Well, now the scientists are studying CoQ10 towards heart health and finding that it can improve the effectivity of the heart, to supplement with a little bit of CoQ10, a serving of CoQ10. Another thing that the experts have told us, and physicians have noticed now in their studies, is that a lot of people, baby boomers and such, when their cholesterol and the plaque forms on the arteries, the doctor says, well, let's give you a statin. That'll help lower your cholesterol. And so a statin drug, you know, is a drug the medical doctor might give you to lower your cholesterol, but a side effect of that is that it also lowers the CoQ10 levels in the body. So you don't want CoQ10 moving out of your body. So it's a good idea to supplement with CoQ10. Your body likes CoQ10 because of these mitochondria. And it's also, by the way, if you go buy CoQ10, you'll notice it's a little bit more expensive supplement. It's not an inexpensive supplement. So we've added it there in this formula. And those tissues, again, that have more mitochondria in their structures are heart muscle, liver, and then the exercising muscle. The athlete, or you do weekend athletic activities and you utilize your muscle power, you need CoQ10. And the liver, of course, is constantly working to filter out toxins, keep the blood sugar level at a normal level. It's a very busy organ all the time. And of course, the heart beats constantly, never a rest. That muscle has to beat all the time. So it's a very good idea to supplement with CoQ10. So this is a good combination formula, providing all these other ingredients as well as a quality fish oil. So, and I should also too mention, we have the fertilized egg, the Life Farm fertilized egg extract in this product. So you get a small serving of that in your CoQ10. And again, the vitamin K2, now that you understand better, the good omegas, and this, oh, by the way, our CoQ10 is a very good product. It's a selective product that has a little bit of time release mechanism in it. It's really micronized. And Dr. Andahar and one of his colleagues did a study, and they did give a group of subjects 2 omega and 2 laminine for a period of about 12 weeks, and they gave omega by itself for a while to one group. Then they gave 2 laminine and omega to another group. And what it was found is that indeed the laminine supported the omega product. The laminine has ingredients in it too that are positive to the heart vessel, and as we learn more and more about the egg extract and some of the things that it contains. So we're learning that laminine tends to work with some of these other supplements to kind of bring out the best. And so here's a little report on the data, and showing that the cholesterols and the LDL, the bad cholesterol, are decreasing, and the triglycerides. And remember that, and then another thing that he did in this study with one of the similar groups is he jumped them up to 5 omega and 4 laminine daily. He wanted to see what happened if you increase the level of intake of those 2 supplements, and also got some interesting data on that improvement when taking the laminine. Well, thank you all for being here today, and I'll appreciate any questions, and I'll let Martha kind of direct that part and let me know what you might have for me to offer.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. I like every time when I learn from you, I feel as though I'm just learning for the first time and hearing it. And I think it's so important for us as we, stand behind our products, and that we first are using the products and knowing, what you were sharing is just the benefits and why and how they work for us synergistically too. And I even found myself just in sharing that I started just seeing the difference and just being able to say, okay, instead of just taking 1 omega, I might personally upped my own omega dosage. Because if you aren't seeing the results, we always do encourage you to then up it just so that you can see the results that you want. Would you agree with me on that, Kimberly? So with that, we are live here, everyone. And so we want you to be able to ask questions. This is your opportunity to really engage with us and just tell us, if you are joining LifePharm for the first time, if you've been using omega in the past, what are some of the positive results, some of the things that you have. And we really want you to know moving forward, our job here, especially for Kimberly, when she is very busy with publications and writing up articles, she has these written up so that we can share with you at any time. So don't hesitate to reach out to her directly. Don't feel like you have to wait for a product webinar from our company to give to you what you really need and deserve, so that you're more empowered to be able to speak confidently about our nutritional products, because we do spend so much time on the extensive research, as I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much, Bob, for sharing that. We really appreciate that. You don't have any questions for us right now. However, you felt that this was an awesome and a very informational presentation. So that's really great feedback. And we understand that this is something that we're moving forward. This is new to what we have offered. We want you to have a place where everything is really consistent, and knowing that you've got a team here behind you to back you up on being as confident in speaking about the products. We also encourage you to really look for our emails and look for our newsletters and articles, and we are here to support that. And being that this is the month that is our Heart Health Month, that has been recognized by the American Heart Association, we wanted to honor that and really be out in the campaign behind saving hearts, saving lives. And really, I didn't even know, being a woman myself, Kimberly, that it's one of the top, diseases for women. I really was really surprised to learn that. And here I think that I'm pretty, health conscious and health minded, but think about that. And we're not trying to scare anybody. We just want you to be aware of knowing that we can combat a lot of things, but with health concerns and health crisis. Would you agree, Kimberly?
Yes.
So we're giving this as a huge, because of the big heart that we do have for all of you, is to come together as a community. And so it is a 120 count bottle of our Omega, and we're gifting of 1 free Omega. This promo began the very beginning of the month, and it's going to run all the way through the end of the month. And we want you to know that we've partnered with American Heart Association. So for every Save a Heart pack that is sold, Life Farm will send a $5 per pack sold to the American Heart Association. So for every pack sold, your money will be going towards a great cause. And this Have a Heart and Save a Heart. And we believe this campaign is just the beginning. We want to really show what Life Farm and why Life Farm is about building communities, one community, one family, one heart, saving that one second at a time, one moment at a time. So I do see that there is a question that's being asked. So I'm going to go ahead and read this question and then have Kimberly continue to answer that. And this is by someone that, we're not going to, even if you do ask us the questions through our live chat here in our webinar, I won't disclose without your permission. So this is an anonymous question. What are some of the symptoms that one might experience to tell us if we are deficient in taking omega-3+? So you must have missed this part because Kimberly talked about a company that she's partnered with that actually has a testing available, that omega testing.
That's kind of a mystery to some of our health problems. That's a good point. You don't always notice. Like that first slide I showed you, 90% of women who have a heart attack don't have any symptoms. They don't know that their blood pressure is sky high. That would be younger women. As we get older, we start having our blood pressure checked, or they do it a lot now, of course, when you go to the doctor. But again, a lot of people don't go to the doctor that much. So, you might see some benefit from blood test when you get your panel of blood analyzed. When they do a standard blood test, they're going to measure for cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and they're going to measure those in your blood. And so that would be a first indicator if you have insurance and you can get a general blood test. And then, or you could use that company that I just showed you, Omega Quant, and a lot of these tests now, they've got the technology down where, you just put a little bit of blood on a cardboard and send it back to the lab, and they can analyze for you and tell you if you're high or low. So what we're recommending, to get up is like we were saying, your blood level will go up if you take, say, 4 of these a day, 4 of our product a day. But it doesn't mean that 1 or 2 isn't also beneficial to you. Now, certain things like the soreness of the knees, when your knees get sore and stiff, there's a lot of studies now on taking a quality fish oil supplement to help with for its anti-inflammatory type of characteristics. Now, these other studies where they're using omega before and after in either young people that are studying for tests in school with a heavy load and need their memory, or elderly people, you start forgetting, where did I leave my keys, or what did I do there? Those are clinical studies, and they do, of course, they have recommended tests, memory tests, a quick learning. They might give you a list of words and take the words away. How many of the words can you remember? Then say you take the supplement for 1 or 2 months, they come back into the clinic and they take the same test again. They don't want them to memorize the answers and see if they can be as quick. So those are the types of things that would evaluate your level.
Great. On that, we've got some more questions to answer at this time. One came through here is, could memory loss be a sign of being low in omega-3 plus or vitamin K2 or the CoQ10?
Good, very good point. It could be. I mean, I don't have, data, or I haven't looked into that exactly, but yeah, of course, that's very logical. That's kind of what we're saying.
And remember too, we always want you to include medical doctors in those kind of questions that can, to Kimberly's point, we're here on the research and science and the product development of the product, but we're not here to cure, treat, prevent, or diagnose any medical or health claims. So our omegas, again, is just so that results that you are experiencing is what we invite you is to continue to share how it's benefited you personally, right? This is all about personal consumption. It's about personal experience and benefits from our omegas.
Exactly. Very good.
We want to continue to answer more questions. This is just the first of many more webinar interactive from that giving. So be on the lookout. Come next month, we're going to do more and give you more information. So I see another question coming. So thank you to all those. The sound is not coming through clearly. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. I'm not sure if it's just because of our audio. Can you hear us better now? So do you need for us to repeat any of the responses from Kimberly? Okay, so apparently it's better now. So Kimberly, I think it's because I'm speaking more to this mic.
Oh, okay.
So how about I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have Kimberly just go ahead and we're gonna just have her just bring back to a few things. But here's what we want you to take away from. Here's some highlights of the overview that Kimberly shared. First thing is, this is a multi-action formula designed to maintain and improve circulatory health. It does contain the highest quality source of all 3 omega fatty acids, 3 times, plus the CoQ10 extended release, the vitamin K2, and our proprietary A bioactive growth factors. So with that said, what would you would like to hear Kimberly repeat? Because we are checking the Q&A section, and we don't want you to miss out on anything that she had shared earlier in answering these questions too from our other. Okay, so anything else? Let's just make sure. Good memory loss, is that a sign of being low in omega-3 plus or vitamin K2 or CoQ10?
Well, that's a very good logical conclusion that, again, unless you go have a lot of blood tests, you won't know if you're low in vitamin K2 or you won't know if you're low in omega. And remember that, the medical doctors, I read a report the other day from Harvard Medical School. Doctors only get about 1 hour of nutrition training, per semester. It's really on the back burner. A friend of mine, I tell my girlfriend's mother, she's about 95 years old, take a vitamin or take some of this fish oil for your heart, this product that I have. And there she goes off to her doctor, and he says, oh, no, don't take anything, but I am going to start giving you a B12 shot. I said, you mean your doctor wouldn't even say take a 1-a-day vitamin? So, you can be, and then you're older, you're 95 years old. Are you eating salmon every day or a high-fatty fish diet, which would be so good for your heart muscle? All this data that we do now, and we get to read in the peer-reviewed journals, is evaluating a lot of these factors. Yet, if you have an old-fashioned doctor that he's not interested, or he doesn't even think they're valuable, but he isn't reading all the abundant research. It's not his expertise. So you have a little bit of a challenge there. Again, it's, finding the right information, trusting and those are scientists. They spend their whole lives being a scientist at some university or medical school. That's all they do day in and day out, and devote their whole lives to, several topics. So that's a good point. So you do have to be kind of proactive. So you're right. If I'm telling you these facts, that's a good product for you. That's a good formula for you. You're safe to take 2 to 5 of those a day, unless, this brings up one other issue. Thank you for reminding me. Unless you're on a blood thinner. Coumadin is one of them. I don't know all the names of them, but you can read that at PubMed or WebMD, or that's a fairly known warning now, because the fish oil is kind of making your blood a little bit thinner. You don't want it to be too thin, because the Coumadin makes your blood thin. You don't want your blood to be too thin, or if you cut your finger or something, it won't clot correctly. But otherwise, it won't hurt you. And always talk to your doctor, and because more and more doctors are becoming more and more aware of these things too. Find a doctor that's good middle of the road.
Excellent. Wow. And here's one last question we're going to take. This question came through: should one accompany a liver exercise after taking the omega-3 plus, or just taking it is fine? So, what basically saying, does it help more with the benefits of our omega-3 plus if they do incorporate exercise with taking omega? Obviously, I don't see why that would harm anything, right?
Yes, and what's happening when you exercise extensively, those long muscle cells in your arms and your legs, depending on what type of exercise you're doing, well, they get damaged. Right, especially with real strenuous exercise, you're tearing up some muscle tissue, breaking it down. So your body needs to make some more muscle tissue, and it needs that fatty acid to help make that muscle membrane again. Muscle cells are kind of long and stringy, under the microscope. But so, just take a good regime. If you've got enough omega floating around in your body, if you go exercise, it's going to be beneficial. I'd have to get back to you. I'd have to look to a particular type of study that's been done to answer you specifically if it's better to take it before exercise or after exercise. So call me back on that one, or send your question to research@lifefarm.com. And I will dig into the journals and see if I can come up with a better answer.
I'm going to put that in our chat room as well, to what Kimberly just offered, which is great. So you have a direct email that will be responded and supported by Kimberly. So that's really awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. So did you guys all get that email, research@lifefarm.com? Again, we want you to make sure that you have the direct access and support that you need in order to be as knowledgeable with our products. And so I see that we have all the questions that we've been able to answer at this time. I do want you to all know that we thank you, and today being that it is Valentine's Day, and out of all times that you would be doing your activity, especially midday here, that we just appreciate you joining us. I will think that, again, we have this omega, and be on the lookout as our next webinar, which is more of a business, but what's going to be great is our next Wednesday's webinar. I'm going to see if Kimberly is able to join me, because we'd like to do some product overview and just give you just a high-level overview of what it is so that you can speak. Learning it directly from her is so huge, and that this is an opportunity that you all have as part of being a part of Life Farm, which is incredible. I may be able to squeeze in one more, but let me just double check. Looks like I think it's better. Somebody says, just as their suggestion, they believe that you take the omega-3 plus first and then a little exercise. So that's just their personal recommendation. But again, we don't have the science proof behind it, the research behind it. So if you want to really know, maybe just try it for yourself and maybe you can track it and then share your own results, right, Kimberly? So with that said, we are going to close out this day because we know that you can be doing many other things, and so we want to be able to be respectful of your time. But don't miss next Wednesday, as we're going to give you more information about our products, and we would love to just know again how all of you have benefited, and hope that this has been most beneficial for you health-wise. Stay healthy, stay happy as well. And of course, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day.